You, our opening song, Grateful. I am grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we live. I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears as you and me. I am grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we give. I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. I am grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we made. And I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. I am grateful, grateful for this day, for the love we share, the life we made. And I give thanks for all the many ways that the love of God appears. Yes, the love of God is. Ty Andrews in the Sound of Light Choir. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. You may be seated. This is like a fantasy. Can you imagine having a big choir every week? Imagine.
Come on.
So they've been locked up all summer long, and we just let them out. And they look good, and they're ready to sing for you. So it's Choir Sunday. You know what's so funny about Choir Sunday and that term is if you know anything about agape in Los Angeles, Choir Sunday is always the last Sunday of the month. And they call it the best free concert in Los Angeles. And so you're here for Choir Sunday, the best free concert in Atlanta. Yeah. My name is David Ault, and I am privileged to serve as senior minister here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. And I've determined, I think of all the seasons of the year that fall, little nip in the air. The fall is the busiest season for us. It's when classes go into full tilt boogie and just so much activity. And so it's a big season. And here to tell you about it is Mr. Big himself, David Aurelio.
Okay, well, I'm going to take that in the very positive sense of the word, not about my weight. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We are a center that recognizes everyone on their spiritual path, and we hope to be a place of great inspiration, thus allowing you to tap into your inherent greatness and to live inspired. And we do that so many different ways. Inside your program, as Reverend David says, all the weekly and monthly events for September. They're there, but I've already got seeds to plant for October. That's how busy we are. So I'm going to just go through a few quick things just to bring a few things to your forefront of your attention. Wise Women. That's Women in Spirituality Evolving. They do their monthly meeting at the end of every month. They'll be having a meeting next week. Ladies, if you'd like to join, you're more than welcome to do so. But they are doing a old-fashioned Sunday supper on October the 5th. And if you've never come to one of these before, you must, because we throw down some serious cooking. So, okay, there's the big thing again. That's where the big thing came from. All right, I admit it. So anyways, so the ladies are going to be cooking. They're looking for volunteers. They have a sign-up table out there. If you want to make something to donate to the actual feast, you may do so. You're more than welcome to come. They even have takeout. I mean, these ladies are so organized. They've got it all worked out. So see the ladies out there after the service and see if you can join us for that Sunday, October the 5th. Also, our young adult group is doing some exciting things, and they're setting the stage for some stuff that they're doing. And I want Dana and Ryan to come up and tell you about that because they're the heads of that group.
Thank you, David. I'm Ryan, and this is
Dana Robinson.
Just in case you couldn't derive that from our names and our sexes. I need a drum roll because I need to announce the name of our group, and I didn't spunk this up enough in the first service. So drum roll, please. The name of the young adult group is Kinetic Ascent. And our mission is, we are a conscious young adult community, cultivating unity through empowerment, honoring all beings on their spiritual journey, and helping each other live abundant lives. And so that's what we stand for. Thank you. Thank you. And so I'm the big picture guy, and I just memorized that for the services today. So my job is done. To give you the details on our event coming up is Dana.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Good morning, everyone. Or good, yeah. So our event that we're holding is on October the 18th. That's a Saturday. So you're all welcome to attend. And it's really geared towards young adults. And the intention is to create a space where we spark spiritual curiosity and elevate the conscious awareness of our fellow young adult community. And the people that will be there include some musicians, some poets, and some speakers who are metaphysically minded. So it will be great entertainment and a fun time, but also it will lift spirits and really spark your curiosity and your growth, your personal growth. I would love to see you there. It's only $10 in advance and then $15 at the door. And it will be here at the Spiritual Living Center, October the 18th.
Thank you so much. Isn't that just a cool name? Kinetic Ascent. I love it. So anyways, they are, if you know 20-something people that want to join this and attend, please do so. I'm going to come incognito to pretend I am. So, but no, it sounds great. They've done a lot of work on this, and it's kind of like an I Can Do It conference for young adults. I mean, they've got music and great speakers and just a wonderful evening. So congratulations to you guys. So now we've got a couple other things. Oneness Blessing Meditation. That's the big ceremony that happens every other month or so. That's happening tonight, 5 o'clock, if you're interested in that. Oneness Blessing Meditation right here, Kennedy Schultz Hall. We are in need for ushers. If you are interested in becoming an usher, please see Maddie, and she will get you all the information on her. There's Maddie, the beautiful Maddie, she's there. And then also just a thank you to all of you that supported the Gay Pride bake sale last week. $1,500 was raised. So yes, fantastic. That helps us get the float under construction. We're already carving that foam head. It's already starting to rotate. I'm telling you, there's a wind coming down the pike for that float. So anyways, that said, thank you for all of you and doing for all your cooperation with that. But if you would like to get involved with Gay Pride, and again, it's not just Gay Pride, it's straight, gay, it's whatever. Our pride is being at this center and showing this community that you are enough, no matter who you are, straight, gay, I don't care. So us unified in that parade is a great, great experience, and I hope you all will join us for that. If you can join us to decorate, if you want to join us for the booth, whatever you are called to do, please do so. The sign-up sheets are out there at the visitors' welcome table. And so, Edward Villoon is here next weekend. He's a guest speaker. He's going to be doing a workshop Friday night, all day Saturday, and then he's going to be speaking at the Sunday services. Now, the workshop is the Friday and Saturday. As I think I announced last week, it has a lunch that I'm catering for that. Not I am, I'm not making it, but I'm getting it. And then there's a continental breakfast, and then there's also the evening reception on Friday has hors d'oeuvres. So your $99 gets you all of that plus the talks. So I've got 9 spots left. So if you want to get that, that's today, we'll take the $99 today, and then I got to close it off. If you want to just join us just for the talk, which I know some of you have come up to me and asked if you can just do that because of your schedules, that's fine too. We can give you that at a discounted price. So just see Nathan or Gloria. They'll be out there at the desk, and we'll take all your information for that. Are there any visitors joining us for the very first time today? If you could raise your hand. And could you stand on up so we can welcome you? Welcome to all of you. We are passing out a CD that you can redeem at our welcome table. It's a CD of one of Reverend Dr. David Ault's talks especially selected for you, and we hope to see you again in the very near future. Now, this is a special Sunday because 4 years ago today, we were blessed to have Reverend Dr. David Ault join Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. So today is his anniversary. So come on out.
Thank you.
I needed you to get to the middle so the live stream people can see you. So anyways, I saw something the other day and I loved it so much I thought it's perfect for this. So,
Okay.
on behalf of all of us to you,
Okay.
David, can you imagine having made such a difference in so many lives that people everywhere talk about you for the rest of their lives?
Oh.
Can you truly imagine leaving the world a better place than you found it? Can you imagine all the angels might already know your name? Well, you know what? You have. It's done. They do. We love you. So, to symbolize 4 years, there's 4 roses. I looked up what the traditional gift was for the 4th anniversary, and it's fruit and flowers. So I'm giving you flowers. I'm making no comment about myself, but fruit and flowers. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you could shut off any cell phones you might have, I'd be grateful. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. If you would stand with your programs, on the inside you will find what is called our Declaration of Principle, and I am going to invite you to read that with me together. I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe that all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God too. Along with the choir, our song this month is on the inside. We come together.
Person next to you. Say God loves you and I love you too. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. Person next to you. Say namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love and unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. Come together. We come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. In the name of love. We come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. In the name of love. We come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. In the name of love.
Turn to those around you and say good morning and welcome to Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. All right. Whew. Turn to those around you and say, my God, you're good looking. And so it is. Will the ushers please come forward? Fun, fun, fun. 4 years. My goodness. My goodness. So. And in those 4 years, I've had just the sacred privilege to be able to be in the midst of some divine consciousness. And in the realm of leadership, in the realm of our practitioners, and one who was a practitioner when I got here and whose consciousness has just sort of spearheaded and kept a consistent light of truth is going to be our practitioner for the day. So I'm going to invite you to breathe and take everything off of your lap as you welcome the wonderful Baji Daniels.
Good morning. Namaste. In addition to our celebration of Reverend David and his 4 years here, how many of you knew that today, September 21st, is also the 30th anniversary of the United Nations International Day of Peace? Now, when we as practitioners are given our assignments to do the prayer for the service, it's done randomly, and there are many of us, and so I'm not up here that often. But I could not have been more honored to find out what today was and to be asked to be the person in front of you. The theme for the United Nations is the right of peoples to peace. Today is devoted to strengthening the ideals of peace, both within and among all nations and people. This 30th anniversary of the General Assembly's International Day of Peace promotes the ideal that peace is vital for the full enjoyment of all human rights. This is the day for nonviolence and ceasefire. For haven't we all recoiled in disbelief and repugnance about the recent public beheadings in Iraq? It's as though we have been thrust back into the Middle Ages. However, have you considered that it is not just the terrorists with guns who kill, or the assassins with swords who behead? When have your words cut deep into another? How might your inner resistance and your closed heart have shut down dialogue and killed any opportunity for conflict resolution? We have always had messengers of peace through the years, through the ages, from Siddhartha Gautama, Jesus the Christ, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and Martin Luther King, and today's messengers such as Paulo Coelho and Stevie Wonder. For thousands and thousands of years, the message of peace has been taught. It's now our turn to say yes. Yes, I am willing to be an ambassador for peace. Yes, my deeds may not be as great as some historical luminaries, but I will do something as simple and pure as what Mother Teresa taught us. She said, peace begins with a smile. We can all do that. Let's lay down our weapons and give peace a chance. So just close your eyes and settle comfortably into your chair. And breathe consciously, allowing the breath to emanate from deep within you and bring it slowly all the way up. Be aware of the pause between before you exhale. And as you continue consciously breathing the breath of peace, please allow me to offer these words of prayer for us today. because this is what I know. I know that there is a God, by whatever name we choose to call it. This divine, infinite intelligence is the creator of all that is, was, or ever shall be. I know that I live in a world that was created by an intelligence that defies our definition, explanation, or understanding. And yet I feel it. I feel it deep within me because I know that I am it. And I know that all the attributes of this power lie within me, awaiting my recognition, awaiting my willingness to uncover and reveal the truth of who I am. And so I speak my word today from a place of power and peace. And I speak my word as an I, as an individual, because I know that in that individual statement, I am speaking for everyone within the sound of my voice, in this room and throughout the world. For truly, we are one. There is only one life. And so I declare that this is a day of peace. And I declare that that peace begins with me. And all that I am that is peaceful, I am willing to bring forth and express. And in this peaceful expression of my being, I resonate far and wide with just a smile, with just a thought, with just an intention. And so I can be in gratitude today because of my willingness, because of my smile. And so I simply say, thank you, God. Thank you for this beautiful earth, for this beautiful universe, for this beautiful center, for these beautiful people that you have created. And I release my word. I let it be, I send it forth, and it always returns to me, multiplied, manifested beautifully. And so it is.
There is so much love.
There is so much love.
There is so much grace.
There is so much grace.
There is so much joy.
There is so much joy.
In this place. There are open hearts.
There are open hearts.
There is peace on each face.
There is peace on each face.
Spirit's with us now.
Spirit's with us now.
In this place. In this place. Thank you, Bashi.
This next tune we're going to do for you is an original composition by our music director, Penelope Williams. And I just want to announce that the repertoire you're going to see us do throughout the season is going to be included in our new upcoming CD, first ever. So thank you so much for your support already, because we know it's going to be fabulous. They've been working hard, y'all.
can move mountains. Belief in possibilities moves me beyond what I can see.
Anchored in the solid rock of truth.
I have unshakable faith, unshakable faith.
My faith is stronger than my fear.
I have unshakable faith, unshakable faith.
I stand on what I know.
I stand on what
I lean on what I know.
what I
I rest in what I know.
that my life is in your hands.
I'm anchored in the solid rock of truth.
I have unshakable faith, unshakable faith.
My faith is stronger than my fear.
I have unshakable faith, unshakable faith.
I stand on what I
I stand on what
I lean on what I know. I rest in what I know.
that my life is in your hands. Unshakable faith, unshakable faith. Unshakable faith,
Unshakable faith.
unshakable faith,
Unshakable faith. 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 Unshakable faith.
sounded like choir under the direction of Ty Andrews. We so appreciate it. Thank you guys. Kinamoto on drums, Fujimoto on bass.
Beautiful. And Ty said, written by our own Penelope Williams. Get it, girl. Cool. Well, good morning. I was reminded of a wonderful quote that I love, and I wasn't quite sure who it was attributed to. So when I was doing my research this week, it was attributed to the German-born architect named Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Did I say that right? All architects and German people corrected me this morning. Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, who said, God is in the details. How many of you have ever heard that? God is in the, of course, we've also heard devil is in the details, but today we're just going to talk about the God part, okay? God is in the details, and there's great context behind that. And Ludwig came into prominence right after the First World War when so much bombing had taken place in Europe. And so, as is customary sometimes in our human conditioning, we want to kind of replace things with what was. We kind of want to rebuild the way in which it was. And Mies van der Rohe was very different in the fact that he wanted to implement something new. And so he was very minimalist in regards to the traditional of what had been. And when his designs and when his structures were being erected, people were ridiculing him and creating all kinds of very dissident, argumentative criticism in regards to his work. And his whole thesis behind that, the whole theme behind his work was that it doesn't need to be elaborate. It doesn't need to have all of these ornate things necessarily in order to prove that something is beautiful. That in fact, the simplicity of it, the clean line of it, if you will, the functionality of it serves its own purpose. And that things don't always have to be so big and so spotlighted and so advanced, that something as simple as this beautiful clean line that I've created can show you that what we call God, or the perfection that is in the detail of that, is in the functionality of that. And I love that in regards to our life and the way in which we approach life. Because have you ever gotten caught up in the idea that if it isn't big, bold, brash, and shiny, then no one's going to notice? If it isn't big, bold, brash, and shiny, then perhaps it won't have as much credibility as something as simple and understated when something comes to light. And I tell you that in regards to just the simplicity of life itself. Because today's word is inseparable, the inseparability of spirituality, the inseparability of our relationship with the divine. And what's funny and what's ironic is that many times what we think spirituality is the heavens opening up and the bright light coming down and the hallelujah chorus singing, and then we know something spiritual has just happened. But in the inseparability of the divine, what we also get to understand is that God is in the detail. And with God being in the detail, that means that when you eat your cereal and you wash your cereal bowl, that God is in that detail. And it's kind of like that Zen Buddhist phraseology of after the ecstasy, the laundry. Chop wood, carry water. You know, all of those things that talk about the day-to-day activities that you and I are engaged in. Can you begin to entertain that even in the most mundane thing, even in the thing that you have grown bored with, even in the thing perhaps that you and I take for granted, that which we know to be God, this divine life energy is in that detail. And whose responsibility then is it to see that? Whose responsibility is it to invite that awareness in? Not to invite the God presence in, because the God presence is there, but to invite the recognition of that in. And that's where you begin to see what it means to be mindful. That's where you and I begin to see that the inseparability of the divine, of spirit, is in all things. And so spirituality isn't just saved up in an experience that we have on a Sunday. Spirituality, God is in the detail when you are driving. Let me say that one again. God is in the detail. Meaning God is in every element that you experience, not just the pleasant ones. And you see, it is us that begins to differentiate between what's pleasant and what's not pleasant. But when you start to look at that, Mies van der Rohe also said, and very fitting, he's also attributed with less is more. Less is more. God is in the details, and sometimes less is more. And the metaphor for that is incredibly rich. What does it mean, then, for you and I to be inseparable from the divine? To be inseparable from the divine, even when you're unconscious to it. Let's say even before you stumbled and fumbled and screamed and kicked on your way to your path of transformation. Prior to that, do you still realize that you are inseparable from the divine? Do you still see that even in the midst of the big sleep that many of us have experienced, that we were still inseparable from the divine? And so there's something quite beautiful when you can own that. Not just hear it intellectually, but own it. Because what that does is it provides a template whereby you go, this is how I get to operate and live my life from this day forward. In an essence of inseparability. Because the divine will always be with me. And so what's so beautiful about these awarenesses is that you and I get to practice them. Because if we don't practice them, they're just contexts that sort of swim around in the brain. But to be able to practice them is the beauty and the strength building of that spirituality and that relationship to the divine, right? So we don't just take it for granted, and it's not just words, and it's not just something that happens on a Sunday. So on Friday, I was scheduled to have surgery. So I went in because the beautiful battery that keeps this Energizer bunny going had finally, all the juice had drained out. And so the batteries last about 5 years. They're wired into my heart. And I said to my cardiologist, I said, I was supposed to get 6 years out of this battery. And he goes, you climbed Kilimanjaro, didn't you? He goes, there's a year's worth of your juice right there. And I said, okay. And I said, have they made any improvements in the technology of these batteries? And he goes, yeah. He goes, this one might last you 14. He goes, are you going to do Everest? So maybe 12 with Everest. But anyway, they last like twice as long now. So when they were going in and to cut it open and to put in the new device, they discovered that one of the lines, the lead lines that go actually into the ventricle had corroded. So then they had to go in and they had to rip the line out and put a new. So they said, you're not going home. You're going to get to stay. And I said, great. Because God is in the details. And I was contemplating the whole experience because even in the check-in, any of you ever gone to the hospital to admissions and you sat behind the registrar desk, right? And they ask you all of those questions over and over. And it's usually by someone who's half asleep who doesn't want to be there. And sure enough, as I was checking into Northside, it was early and there was no ink in the printer. And already this woman was not having a good day. And so as I was thinking about this, I thought, I've been here so many times. What can I do? What can I do? If God's in the details, what can I do? So I start joking with her, and I said, in all of my years of going through these particular things, no one's ever really made me a handwritten admission badge. Why don't you just screw the printer and write it? And she goes, I said, it would be like having your autograph. And she started to giggle, and then she said, that'll be $4,800. And I said, you and I know that's not going to happen. I said, how much will get me into the room, So we bartered a little bit, and she goes, you're weird. And I said, thank you. And then I went into the surgery room and I looked up and, oh my God, it was the most magnificent room. And I said, wow, this is like Grey's Anatomy. And the whole surgical team said, yeah, but without the drama. And then somebody else yelled out, yeah, well, just wait, the morning's early. And so we were just having this banter and we started joking. And as we were going along, and I talked about this, and I talked about Kilimanjaro and Everest, they went, you're not normal, are you? And I said, no. And so what I learned is that any situation affords you the ability to see that God is in the detail. Now, you have to kind of determine what that means for you. What is God? I like to think that God is far more than just some deity, but that it is life itself. It's energy itself. It's the all-consuming energy and vibrancy and aliveness that produces everything that you and I experience. That's God. That's you as God. And so you cannot go anywhere where that doesn't exist. So it makes perfect sense then that God is in the detail. And what I come to know is that if you sign up for this, meaning if you sign up for this path of awakening, then what you sign up is the opportunity to see that even when it appears not to be there, right? And so our founder, Ernest Holmes, when he was talking about the expression of life itself, he said, one should analyze themselves. One should stop and have self-inquiry and analyze themselves and say, do I look at myself from a standpoint of restriction? Think about that question. Do I, when I look at my life, when I look at me either physically or emotionally or historically, do I look at my life and do I look at it from a standpoint of restriction? Because what we know is that if we do, if we feel loyal to that, if I become my disease, if I become my history, if I become my story, if I become who did what to whom, to when, and to how, if I become that, then I live my life from an essence of restriction. And can you then serve two masters? You can't serve the master of God is in the details and serve the master of restriction. So which one are you going to choose? And what's so amazing about that is either side that you pick, you will have your alliances and you will also have your detractors. So if you decide, as this spiritual being, to pick this avenue that God is in the details, you will periodically, more than not, run into people who will want to bash that, or to label that, or to criticize that, or to criticize you even. It's an amazing world where someone can give pure, unadulterated truth. And we live in a world now where, let's say it's a video, and you can watch that video, and then you can scroll down and you could just see the most ugly vitriol from people. And so what I know is that permeates. But the beauty of realizing that God is in the detail is that at some point, and I guarantee you this point happens, that there is a tipping point whereby none of that matters. And you get to see that as an expression of God also, because God is in the detail. It's like the sandpaper. You know, they once said that in the olden days when a jeweler wanted to refine stones, the roughness of stones, that he would put 2 rough stones into a velvet bag, and he would shake them and rub them and rub them and shake them and rub them and rub them. And in the friction of that, those stones would become polished. And I believe that that's life. You know, God is like the velvet bag. And the details that are inside that bag are you, the decision of you to own the God as you, and then anything that seems to be in opposition of that. And when you don't fight it, but when you play with it, not fight it, but work with it, then there becomes this beautiful refinement that allows you to move into the essence of who you are. So when Ernest says, do you look at yourself from a standpoint of restriction? You can authentically say, no. I look at myself from a standpoint of expansion. He says, do I see life limited to the eternal round of getting up in the morning, eating, going to work, coming home, going to bed, sleeping, getting up again, and so on and so on and so on? All of the things that he says we might label as apparent necessities. But do you see the beauty in the mundane? Can you see the beauty? Can you see God expressing in all of that? How are you and I going to even prepare ourselves for the really big stuff if we can't see God in the small stuff? When you can't really grasp hold of the inseparability of spirituality, even when you're driving, how are you going to know what God is in the most amazing, most eventful issues and activities that take place in this world? You can't reserve God. Do you get it? That the inseparability of that which is spiritual is in everything. So now we get to look and we go, okay, where have I compartmentalized this in my life? Where have I decided that this is good and this is bad? Where have I decided that this is beautiful and this is ugly? Even on ourselves. I'll show you my scar. For $1,000, buy a brick and you'll get to see my scar afterwards. Karen told me to raise it to 2, so I'll see how I feel at the end of the service. But he said Ernest said to free yourself from the thought that God might be pleased by a life of sacrifice. Because when we buy into the fact that we are separate, there's something very sacrificial there. Because what that's saying is I'm left alone to my own devices. You are not left alone to your own devices. You are a part of all that is device. You are a part of all that is God, right? And so when we can really begin to understand that, then he says, our founder says, in our mental work, we must realize that there is one infinite mind which is consciously directing our destiny. Consciously direct, not haphazardly, but consciously. Declare every day that no mistakes have been made, none are being made, and none can be made. What would it be like for you to just eliminate the word mistake? Because all that they are what? Experiences. I even might say that they're conscious or unconscious experiences. And those experiences are, to all degrees, surrounded by the inseparability of the divine. But it's like being aware of it and not being aware of it. And as I've learned, is that once you become aware of it, you cannot not become aware of it. It's like the spiritual Pandora's box. Once it's been opened, you can't go, oh, I didn't know. Now you go, oh, I could have had a spiritual V8. Because you realize that now, instead of choosing separability, I could have chosen inseparability. And how much easier my life becomes. So I'm always just so hungry for what it would take for certain individuals who might be sitting out here this morning, what it would take for you to hear it, but to hear it with beginner's mind. And by beginner's mind, I mean to hear it from a place that isn't cynical, to hear it from a place that hasn't been so beaten down by the past, that you are willing to consider, because that's all it needs. It just needs just a fraction of willingness. The divine just needs just a smidgen of willingness in order to break forth and to break through and to bud and to grow and to thrive and to bloom into what's to be by means of you. All it needs is willingness. What would it take for you to have willingness in this moment to realize that you are not separate? To realize that there was no mistake, there is no mistake, and there will be no mistake. There will only be choices. And those choices will be conscious or unconscious. That's all. And that when we begin to see that, when we understand what the word inseparable actually means, inseparability of the divine, then where do we come off worrying about anything? Where do we waste any more of our energy in worry? And when can we not see everything as an opportunity? An opportunity. So the Buddhists, when they talked about inseparability, they had what they call harmonious weaving. The harmonious weaving together of all of the components of life. And they're very much what you already know. The first one being the physical aspect of life. The physical aspect of life is a part of the harmonious weaving. A lot of times we talk about looking beyond the physical, but wow, if you don't have a grasp of the physical, how are you going to have a grasp of all the other things beyond? Because the physical is where you and I get to do the work. I was joking with a class this week teaching here about the concept of death. Can you imagine in the human experience what primitive man must have done in that first experience, that first conscious awareness of death? You know, they're hunting with their hunting partner, and the hunting partner expires. And they're like, kicking them to get up. And then they don't, so they go and they beat something, skin it, and eat it, right? And then they go over to their partner again and go, and the partner doesn't respond, and then that particular expression starts to decay. And so all of a sudden they're seeing something they've never seen before. So when we see something we've never seen before, what do we have to do to it? We have to define it. I've got to define this. I've got to label this. And now I'm seeing this through the lens of the physical, right? Not the non-physical, but the physical. So now I've got to define it through the lens of the physical. So I call it death. I call this death. I call this final. When in actuality, that's just something that we've made up in the sensory component of humanity, but there's no truth to it. It's just one expression morphing into the other. And so when the Buddhist says the harmonious weaving of all that is, they start with the physical and say, you realize that this is only one component of the eternality of all that is. When I was looking up death, because that's what I do, I found this. Listen to this. This is so cool. This is from the Abraham Hicks material. And she called it the biggest piece that is missing. That's what it's labeled, the biggest piece that is missing. She said the biggest piece that is missing in the understanding of human to human, friend to friend, is that the horror we have assigned to the death experience is not what we've made it out to be at all. That's the intelligence that the beasts of the field give us because they come and go and come and go and come and go because they've reached their level of maturity so easily. They may come to what might appear to be some torturous end, but that is very brief compared to the delicious experience they've been experiencing and or continue experiencing. And humans do not allow themselves that benefit because humans are so busy speculating the what has gone wrongness that they hold themselves in discord to the rightness that is in actual alignment with what their souls have carved out. Take a breath. And so this idea of what death is simply a perception or a definition that we've come up to with something that we don't understand. And so we blocked ourselves. So perception. Perception is the second component. Perception meaning I've now taken the physical, and by looking at the physical, I've made up what I think it is. That's my perception. And now how many varying opinions do we have in this room? That's all the varying perceptions that we have of what's going on. Some of you are elated, some of you are irritated. It's the same thing in life. Some of you are elated in the engagement of life. Some of you are irritated in the engagement of life. Some of you are behind a registrar's desk going, God, if she would just get it together. And some of us are going, hey, I'm here. Might as well see God in the detail. And so everything then, through this lens of perception, is what we make it if we choose to see God in that. I often reflect back because my perception had such a profound shift in one of those first years in Cambodia. When I go to where my school is, I was sitting at the plank out front of Angkor Wat. If you don't know what Angkor Wat is, it's the largest spiritual temple complex in the world. One of the ancient wonders. It's just magnificent. And as I was sitting under this tree getting out of the heat, I looked over and there was this old Cambodian woman and her head was wrapped and she was squatting down and she had the beggar bowl in her lap. And as I looked at her, we looked at each other. We just looked at each other. And no words were said, but we looked at each other. And this is what I felt from that experience. In someone else's belief, you are rich and free. In someone else's eyes, you are smart, capable, and daring. In someone else's world of existence, you have it all. In someone else's level of experience, you have already reached their understanding of nirvana. Whatever your story is, you are as blessed as you are willing to recognize that you are. Whatever your story is, you are as blessed as you are willing to perceive that you are. And if God is in the details, wouldn't you want your perception to be more in alignment with that? The next thing then comes concepts, the conception or the belief. So we establish what we believe by the physical things that have gone on and by our perceptions. Everybody in here has a whole pocket full of beliefs. Let me tell you, a lot of those beliefs that you got in your pockets may not serve you. And a lot of those beliefs that you got in your pockets also are made up by you. Do you get that? And so if you think that the world is challenging, and that's a chronic, habitual thing that you've stuffed down into the pockets of your physical being, that's a belief, and you have entire free will to keep that. But if that's not a belief that no longer serves you because it interferes with the understanding that God is in the details, then what do you get to do with that belief? You can either keep going or you can take it out and toss it. It's that simple. But here's the maddening thing. Anything that is simple, we want to complicate it. So, inseparability. To be inseparable to that which is the divine is simple. You are a part of that which is God. How you want to complicate that is completely up to you. Here's the other part. In our complication, we then want to put on a cloak of responsibility for the rest of the world. look at my cloak of responsibility. It is my job to fix the world. It is my job to fix you. It is my job to show you that life is worth living. It's not my job. It's not your job. So I'm going to rip that cloak off. I invite you to do the same. Disrobe. That's what we do here at SLCA. We just disrobe. I will tell you why it's not your responsibility. Because the world isn't broken. The world isn't broken. That is a perception. How can something be broken if what truly exists is the inseparability of God? Now, this is where it gets all juicy because this is where everybody wants to argue. Everybody wants to hold up the headline. Everybody wants to raise the history book. Everybody wants to spout off the data. Everybody wants to do all, and you're fine and welcome to do that. And truly what it means is that you have a compassionate heart. But what I want you to do with that compassionate heart is begin to redirect it towards truth. Because to have a compassionate heart that then believes in separability is to take that heart and to stomp it into the ground. But to take that compassionate heart and be willing to see that there is no separability means that you can now go into any situation, and become a product of the solution rather than a product of simply ganging up to fight against something that isn't real. And people aren't going to get that. Not a lot of people are going to get that. But more and more people do get it. And the more people that do get it, then the more the shift and the complexities of this world return back to simplicity. And you're not crazy. And you're not in denial. What you are doing is you are living by the standard of understanding that the only thing is that God is in the detail. There's no exception to that. Then from that we have volition, we have choice, volition and choice, meaning I get to now establish this realm of awareness and consciousness about how I look at the things physically, how I look at the perceptions, how I create my beliefs. I have choice in that. And then from that then is culminated my whole level of awareness, which is my life. And so as I look at my life, I can look at my life through that lens of understanding. I got this. You are designed to win. In fact, you already have, but it's so maddening. It's so maddening sometimes when what we are, we reject, or what we are, we refuse to see, or what we are, we want to diminish because we're simply unconscious to it. And so as we begin to understand then the inseparability, then here's what you get. Spiritual and physical are one. They're not two separate things. Spiritual and physical are one. Spirituality is often, again, held in some kind of sacrosanct that we only experience on Sunday. But it's the day-to-day activities that fill everything. Everything that we want to label mundane, everything that feels unfair, even those things that feel cruel. There is that which is God in those things. If you and I are willing to see it, there is no separation in that. So, can you be an activist, but can you be a spiritual activist? Because an activist sometimes, if we're not careful to engage in activism, which I'm all for, but do not go into activism fighting against something. If you go in activism fighting against something, you will burn out. You will burn out, and through the law, through spiritual law, that thing which you resist will persist. But if you go into life as but spiritual activism, think of those two words. Spiritual activism means that the only thing that I am bringing to the world, the only thing that I'm dedicated to in this world is letting you know and letting every single person that I come in contact with that God is in the detail. That God is in the detail. And that never gets watered down. That never gets set aside. Principle is not set aside and used only for special occasions. It is constant. And so the final question is this. We often ask, who am I? Who am I? And that's a great question to ask because everybody should be engaged in some form of spiritual inquiry. You should be asking yourself, who am I? I just should all over you. You should be asking, who am I? However, it should be followed up. I just double shitted on you. It can be followed up by this as well. Who am I? How shall I live? How shall I live? How shall I live knowing who I am? How shall I live? I shall live by being the divine example. I shall live by being the willing vessel. I shall live by being the mouthpiece that tells me that God is in the detail. Constantly. Constantly. And so I wrote this a while back. The person that you want to be, you already are. Yes, the person you want to be already exists. You must allow the welcoming of their essence, the brilliance of their steadfast knowing. You must remove the muzzle from your timid mouth and speak the language of harmony, purpose, and possibility. No longer willing to establish roots in some diminished soil that border obstacles made fertile by small minds. You continue moving forward, stepping through the jagged rocks of mystery, through the pathway lined with those who would hurl stones at your daring. The person you want to be, you already are. Yes, the person you want to be already exists. Cherish that grander you, understanding that what you value now, you experience now. No more delays. No more coddling the futile verses from the poets of illusion. The person that you want to be, you already are. You already exist. Begin the reacquainting by simply saying, hello. You are welcomed here. And so it is. You know, in these 4 years, thank you, by the way, for 4 years. Thank you. In these 4 years, I have just had the extreme privilege to be in the presence of such high-minded individuals. And 2 of these high-minded individuals have served on our board, and the rules say they can only serve so long. They've served their full term of 3 years, and they are stepping off as of today. And so I want them to come, Avon Drummond and Karen Ratz. Thank you so much for what you've done for these people. They have no idea the hours. I think they might know a little bit, but the hours and hours and years worth of devotion to this community that is sung and unsung. And they deserve your respect. They deserve your congratulations because they've now been set free. And I want to invite them both to do to lead our grateful giving in tandem. And
Oh my goodness. Well, it's been a ride, huh? It's been fun. It's been great. And we've grown and we've loved and we've learned about this community and we've appreciated every single opportunity to show up. And as you've been expanding, we've been expanding and just documenting that. So it's just really awesome. So, Karen?
As we come for our time of grateful giving, get out your checkbooks. I don't give my treasurer a roll up until 3 p.m. We can still raise some money. Yes, that's right. David's scar has gone up to $3,000. Do I hear 3,500, 3,500, 3,500 on the... It's worth it. I've seen it. You know, what I thought this morning about grateful giving and 3.5 years on the board, I think you've been there 4, is, you know, we sometimes say that, you know, you don't even know some of the people you're going to know, right? So 4 years ago, I didn't know some of the people who are now my best friends. And you know what I've learned from hanging out with these people is I will here forevermore hang out with visionaries and change agents. And that's what this place is. Compassionate visionaries and change agents. And so I guess what I want to say about the time of grateful giving is, you know what, it's not really about giving in this place. I started as a board member thinking here I was going to give. It has nothing to do with that. Come to find out, this is grateful receiving. If you can pry open your little palms and receive this place and this love, it will change your life as it's changed mine. So thank you for this opportunity to serve, because it served me. So let's do together our affirmation for grateful giving.
We live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow. In all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Thank you so much.
Please welcome the Sound of Light Choir.
Please welcome our soloist Terry Burrell and the Sound of Light Choir.
It's another day's journey, and I'm glad. I'm glad about it. You know that I'm glad. I'm glad about it. Yeah, I'm glad about it. It's another day's
Fujimoto, the Sound of Light Choir.
Oh my God. I love it when you're here. Can I tell him? Yeah, go ahead. Okay. She has written a one-woman show about Ethel Waters, and Alliance Theater just picked it up. So she's going to be Happy anniversary to all of us. And as our practitioners come forward, I'm going to ask them if they would to line behind the monitor. And as they come and make their way up here, we're going to sing our closing song. Thank you so much. You ready?
I am so blessed. I am so